My name is Sergio Fernandez de Cordova. I'm the Executive Chairman of the PVBLIC Foundation. What brings me to Antigua is it's a long story and a long journey. And it really has to do with empowering communities with technology, with access to innovation, access to finance, underpinned by geospatial data and actually understanding what it is that they have and giving them the tools to assess the value, the richness that Mother Nature offers, not only through why everybody in the world comes to islands to visit, but why we can also build economic hubs to really transform each and every single one of the small island development states. The idea started with a TED Talk and a lot more behind that, and really was around that there's not enough money to solve every problem, but there's enough media to tell everybody. Then as we evolved as an organization, it went from media to tell everybody to technology all the way down to data. We said data to measure, because we need to measure, technology to build vehicles, because we could build any vehicle once we have information, and then media to tell everyone, the highway. So really it's the asset to the vehicle to the highway. And when you start to look at how the world has evolved over the last 20 years, and we look at what the next 20 years are going to look like, and some of these development communities that are under distressed development, least developed, landlocked, ocean communities, if we could just give them access to this technology, the information, the data, the tools, the highway, they can transform their world. And so I think that as we've been evolving the organization over the last 12 years, it's also, the organization as a whole has also been helping be part of that change of not only advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, but really bringing creative, innovative ways to actually solve. Right? Because I believe that what's missing in the world of multilateralism and development is the ability to actually solve problems. Everyone talks and looks backwards. Everyone says what you did wrong, what they are doing wrong, how they messed up, right? But there's nobody that's actually saying, how can we do better? All they say is give more money and we do better by looking at all the wrong, rather than say, hey, let's actually be more creative, more efficient, and build something that's better using all the tools that are transforming our world. AI has transformed our world in the last 7 months or less. It's turned the world over 100 years worth of change, right? But yet in these islands, the communities are still the same. The divide is getting bigger, so we need more innovative, rapid response. And we have all the tools. We're over-innovated planet. We're disrupted. Everyone says disruption. We don't need any more disruption. What we need is partnerships. We need people to come together. And I believe that the work that PVBLIC has been doing and growing over the last 12 plus years since its inception, where again started with media, now we're data, technology, and media. We're only just getting started. And I do believe that, a lot of what we bring to the table could really scale conversations, not just here at SIDS, but, showcasing and starting here at SIDS, but really, helping across the planet. Private and public, so private sector, we need their IP, we need their brains, we need their networks, and we need them to show up, right? We've spoken to many prime ministers over the last couple of days, and the number one issue, number one problem that everyone sort of alludes to is private sector gets really excited. If they don't see a transaction, they leave, or they don't come, or they don't show up. So a lot of what we're doing is educating the private sector, family offices around the world, innovators, technology leaders, that we need their technology, we need their IP, we need that to help transform, right? If they don't want to show up, it's okay, that's what we're here for. We'll show up. But without them, we're not, as the Secretary General said when we began this conference, and he opened up at the plenary, we need public, private, individuals, community leaders, and finance. So these are all tools that are the sort of multi-stakeholder engagement that is necessary to solve for these things. It's not just private sector. There's not going to be one company that's going to come because they're transactionally based. Private sector really needs to learn to think long-term if they actually want to be part of that change. And if they're able to, then it's these are the stakeholders and actors that we're identifying, those that raise a hand, self-select, and say, I want to be part of this journey. And these are the people that we want to onboard, continue to bring together, and grow with them. And we need public sector because they need to start thinking about policy that actually engages and opens the door and creates the mechanisms and the frameworks that allow private sector to come in and enter and engage or transfer their technology or provide any resourcing of innovation all the way across to money and donations or economic development capital, which is really what's needed. And when you look at the ABAS, right, and we were very much involved over the last 2 years in helping draft, you can be part of these conversations. Is one of the things that's excited me the most as executive chairman is to actually sit in the trenches and look at, how we could build better policy so that this superhighway for 39 member states is being designed in 20 territories is innovative in its own way, that it unlocks the ability to tap into external capital sources, external impact groups, external private companies, and also allows the member states and everyone to create mechanisms that have never been built before. Right? To me, what really excites me and it is really this idea that if it's never been done, it's because it hasn't been tried. Right? And if it's impossible, it's because it's outside of their scope. And it's okay. Right? We'll take on that role. We'll help create the impossible and never been done because we're ready to take on that challenge because we believe that you need public sector, you need the private sector, and you need civil society. Any NGOs and organizations that are focused on making the planet better. Right? So these people, again, when I'm really excited about this conference, is really the launch of the Center of Excellence, underpinned by close to 7 years of work with the SDG Data Alliance. The Data Alliance really underpins the Center of Excellence. Why? Because Data Alliance is already a framework that's already existing across the planet that is already bringing that technology and innovation. So we have case studies after case studies, and we have a mechanism that works. Now, bringing the Center of Excellence allows us to open the door and bring all of these different stakeholders to actually show up, but then allows us to then reorganize them and create partnerships that might have never existed or actually, didn't even know how to work together. And a Center of Excellence, hence the word excellence, is by bringing the best of the world and having a doorway, a gateway that allows everybody to engage rather than get lost in saying, I'm going to go to St. Vincent, I'm going to go to Palau, or I'm going to go to Tonga or Antigua, and don't know who to talk to, right? And really, when you look at what is success for the Center of Excellence and the work that we're doing, is rapid innovation, connecting people faster, creating relationships and partnerships based on what their desire, their goals, their aspirations, and also aligning them with the right capital, helping the governments do procurement, helping the governments align partnerships so you could actually do the work, right? And actually look at the next 10 years as really an opportunity to really revolutionize how SIDS engage public-private and look at how they look at technology as a means of leapfrogging. You've heard me say this a lot throughout the last couple of days. It says this is one of the greatest opportunities where we could show and rewrite development history by giving these countries the tools, giving these people the resources, and bringing the mechanisms that have worked elsewhere in the world. So we're not inventing anything new, rather bringing tools and things and resources that they can use to advance on their own. We're not here to do their work. We're here to give them the tools, the resources, the platforms. And I do believe personally, wholeheartedly, that we'll look back in 5 years and start to see how much change has happened. We'll look back in 10 years and see how many millions of lives have been transformed. Because again, the tourism tells you the whole story. There's close to $1 trillion worth of tourism that comes to all of these islands, but yet it leaves. If you could convert 10% of that into economic development and actually value creation that actually benefits the people, not just the tourism industry. Everyone says, oh, you're creating jobs. No, you're not doing anything that creates great depth. And how do you do that? You have to open the door for more innovators. Again, we saw during COVID, everybody wanted to move to an island. Countries were doing special visas, right, so that they could welcome these entrepreneurs and allow them to come in. And so with that, then if that was able to be done in such an expedited rate, right, just because they wanted to tap into these new business owners that were coming to these islands, well, let's build that internally, not just for the externals. And I think that, we again, I go back to we're over-innovated. We just need to align A to A, B to B, or A to B, C, and bring everyone together. And that's what excites me a lot about what's happening here, what's being launched. what has been launched, what will continue to launch, and and all these different mechanisms, because every single person could do something, and every single one of these chess pieces plays a role in the future of development for the small island development states. What can I say? I think it's one of the most innovative, exciting things in our lifetime. What I think, when I learned about this opportunity and they needed help, as usual, I raised my hand and I said, yes, let's do this. Let's embark on another absolutely wild journey and adventure, because the world needs institutions that work. And, the president of this new bank, Gene, the way he explains it is, across time and history, from World War and all the way across to the last bank, which was the Asia Development Bank, these banks were created to transform communities, because you needed a mechanism to not depend on others, to actually depend on themselves and their economic value. And when you look at the SIDS, all of SIDS in the three regions, and you look at what is their greatest richness, why do we travel there? Why do we spend billions and trillions of dollars to go and actually find peace? Is because they are the defenders of Mother Earth. They're there preserving nature, oceans, biodiversity, coral reefs, mangroves. Everyone goes there to figure out how to take their carbon credits and monetize them, but leave nothing behind. Right? They go travel, leave nothing behind. And I believe if you have an institution that is actually focused on real world natural assets or nature-based assets, then you have one of the richest infrastructures in the planet. Then the opportunity there is, and how are you working with each country? Because now preservation doesn't just equal conservation. Preservation equals value creation, right? And then that gives these countries their autonomy, their ability to create, co-create, build, and give the life that every president, every head of state that we speak to, every prime minister, their vision is they just want their people to have a better life. That's all they want, but they just are bound by what they are living with and continue to ask the North for help. Right? In a world where you have all 39 member states actually have some sense of autonomy of their future, you start to rewrite history. I spoke to many prime ministers who said, Sergio, I spend 25 to 30% of my time asking for money. He goes, I feel like I'm begging all the time. He goes, I never realized that being a prime minister meant I had to go across the world and travel 40 hours per trip, because it's impossible to get to my island, just to ask for money. He goes, can you imagine how much more efficient I would be if I didn't have to worry about that? And I said, absolutely can. That's a lot of time of a prime minister to actually be focused on this. And it's a reality. And it comes a hurricane, a tornado, whatever happens, natural disaster, then it sets them back. So it's like they're forever on their heels rather than on their front foot. And I think that this vision that we're so excited to just, be a stakeholder to push it forward and bring all of our tools to advance it, to me, I believe this is part of SID's history. And I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to even just, be on the bus to, do whatever we can to help push this forward and help, bring in some of the financing, whatever, role we can play, because I believe that that's what everybody from the Secretary General all the way across to every prime minister that spoke at the plenary, everybody said is, we need to rewrite the financial system. Financial infrastructure is flawed. Well, why rewrite it? Why not just fill the gaps and create infrastructure that actually fills a gap, right? Because access to capital to something they don't understand is impossible. So are we just doing the same old, right? Or are we going to be part of something new? And I think that, this is, as the world continues to transform and we have technologies that allows us to measure literally how many fish are in the water, how much, how much the mangrove is growing, or the coral reefs. We can measure this with LiDAR, with satellites, with all this technology, data, right? That's why from our perspective, we believe that this is one of the most important assets of the future of development is data, understanding it, measuring it, quantifying it. And you add a financial institution on top of that, right? Game over. And so that excites me a lot because, we also spend a lot of time trying to find partners, supporters, And when you see an institution like this really growing from the inside out, SIDS based, by SIDS, for SIDS, then you see that, that the imperative is there, and that the heart and the soul of all the heads of government is really there. And not only that is important for their economic opportunity, but also when we look at climate, defending Mother Nature. Who are the greatest defenders but our islanders? And who else is out there in the front lines? We talk about this all the time. They are the front lines of climate change. They are impacted, but they're also living in it, in the middle of the oceans. So this allows them to actually have a mechanism and the tools to defend Mother Earth. And that, I believe, is one of the most revolutionary visions we've ever been a part of. And we're excited to really drive as far and as hard as we can to do our part. My message wouldn't be to just join public. I think that's narrow-minded. My message would be that everybody could do something. Find that one thing that lights your heart, the fire inside of you, right? Join our Center of Excellence. Sign up there. Identify what it is, right? What is it? SIDS.sdg.org, commercial. And, but, join, sign up. Tell us what you have. Tell us the resources that you have, the tools, your superpowers that's driven by the fire inside of you. How can we connect you? How can we connect your ideas, your passion, your purpose, right? That's how they can get involved, right? If they're interested in public, we're happy to engage, but that's not why we're here. It's for really helping evolve these conversations, these platforms that we're all building together, that they need as many people. They need, and as I said in our dinner the other day, we have every single person in that room, and in every room, and everyone here can do something. Find out what that one thing is. Start the journey, because you got to think big, act small, but do it now.